Alright, kind of response video to this guy, determinmentalist, well, whatever, has a 1 in it. Anyway, yeah, I've spoken to him before, I think, but it's been a little while. But anyway, he asked a question in here, and it's regarding the debate with Professor Anton and just the general subject matter. So, anyway, we'll play a little bit here. 2 minutes in, 2:30.
The question I wanted to ask Gary is, suffering sucks. What is the goal? Is it to abolish suffering, to minimize suffering? I don't...
Yes, yeah, really, it's not that complicated. Yeah, you can fix a problem the complete way, or you can fix it the incomplete way, or you can fix a little bit of it, or you can do it all kinds of... There's all kinds of scales of fixing something. You can jury rig, you can, yeah, there's all kinds of ways of doing it. You do it the right way, or you can do it the halfway, or you can do it no way at all. And yeah, antinatalism is just a cure. It's completing the job. It's just saying, look, we know it's all kind of fucktarded. There's no point in perpetuating it. Let's just get it done with. Let's finish out our little joyride and let that be the end of it. Okay? It's a disease. It's creating its own problem. There's so many ways. It's a need that doesn't need to exist. Can't get simpler than that. Why create a need that doesn't need to exist? Yeah, there's just no reason to do that. Logic and such.
The problem I have with that is I don't think it's possible. Every civilization...
Well, whatever. We can argue possibilities forever. The fact is, it's possible in my brain. My brain sees the logic of it. My brain sees it as rational, as reasonable, as perfectly acceptable solution to the problem. Other brains on YouTube are capable of saying those words. So I guess it's possible to get the other brains to talk like these brains. So I don't think that's... I think by definition it can't be impossible. Whether it's likely that the human race is ever going to be able to be molded into any kind of good thing, well, that's an open question. What's more likely, though? A utopia where human beings learn to share and share alike and love each other and give their welfare to each other voluntarily? Yeah, I don't think so. That doesn't sound very likely either.
That has come before. Every different variety of civilization, every different variety of race, every different variety of living technique that has been tried. Suffering has always been prevalent, like suffering.
Well, whatever. I mean, you can't speak for the future entirely there. I mean, obviously they're working with crude tools in the past, so yeah, there's a lot of failure in the past. So it doesn't mean the future is completely, has to follow some past dynamic. We're not going to live the same way we lived 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years from now. That's just a fact. So yeah, we could mitigate against a lot of the realities of life and make life less burdensome. The question is, will we? There's no evidence of any will we, okay? Because every time you give people anything, any kind of progress, you give it to them, what do they do with it? They make a baby out of it. I just said it in my last video, but I'll keep saying that one too. Any kind of good that's thrown into the equation, they just convert it into another mouth to feed, another need machine to satiate or satisfy.
And life are intertwined, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it's realistic to... well, there's a question. Wouldn't you say it's unrealistic to hope for a minimization of suffering?
Well, no, a minimization is the key word. So yeah, there's a certain idea of suffering that's necessary for us to enjoy life. But the deprivation itself doesn't have to actually be experienced. So I could theorize that we could give people pretty strong desire. We could give them the memory of hardship, the memory of burden, the memory of starvation, the memory of being very, very, walking the desert with no water. Instead of the actual experience. And by giving them the memory, they might have the appreciation, and they might be able to gain the grand satisfaction of relieving a harsh deprivation that they didn't technically really experience. and so they could have a big and bold gratification. Would I advocate going to the trouble to make that whole scenario, create this whole desire addiction mechanism? No. What's the fucking point? Will human beings do it? Well, they're not going to do that. They're not going to engineer life, and if you don't engineer it, it will fail. That's just a fact.
And say hypothetically, we reach a point in history where we abolish suffering, will we still be able to recognize beauty? Because, I don't know, like, without suffering, it creates a...
Well, you know, right there you're in big trouble, because beauty, what the hell does that mean? Will we still want to climb mountains? Will we still have sick, stupid, insane desires that make absolutely no rational sense? Will we still be obsessed with some kind of notion of ego and pride? I'm the winner! I smited them! Oh, smiting is not a good thing. I shouldn't be proud. Yeah, we probably could still play an ego game with a minimum amount of real hard deprivation. But again, I'm going to ask the question, what's the point? Why do it? And the point is we will fail at it, and we'll fail dismally. So this is really an argument about how badly do we fall off the stage. Do we fall off the stage, you know, fall on a guy smoking a cigarette, he puts a cigarette in the guy's drink, the drink catches fire, the whole theater burns down, and everybody dies? Or do we gracefully fall off the stage where we just, you know, end up falling into the tuba and no great horrors take place? But that's all this is about. It's about how badly we fail.
Paradox, like you need one to have the opposite, don't you? Well, that's as far as I know. I thought you do. And
yeah, well, I mean, you know, I've used them as opposites myself in rhetoric, but, you know, to tell you the truth, they're not really opposite. There are two ends of something, but they're not opposing each other. They're not opposites in the strict definition of the word opposite. One doesn't have the thing and the other thing is absent the thing. Okay, a pleasure is derived through a different mechanism. It is the release or the relief of need, dependency, and deprivation. A pain is caused because of a harassment of a deprivation mechanism, one that enables that desire thing to be created. So they're both made out of the same thing. One just ends up being harshly brutal, and the other one has this potential to create the illusion of accomplishment because you are rising out of a pit of deprivation. So the idea that you get free of your burdens is you feel liberated. I mean, just because you've broken the chains from one owner doesn't mean you've broken all your chains, but you're always going to feel better because you're freer. Any gain of freedom is a sense of freedom, but it's not real freedom. You haven't gotten anywhere yet.
You know, with suffering, like, I think we need suffering to recognize beauty. Yeah, I'm finding it really hard to understand how it's realistic.
I just don't see the point of having a philosophical conversation that's going to involve a word like beauty. I mean, what do you make out of that? What is that a metaphor for? What is that a placeholder for? What are you saying? You mean an ego gratification? You mean a wanting, longing, hoping, wishful feeling? You mean a subjective, completely conditioned perception of value? I mean, this word doesn't really have a whole lot of use.
Do we even think that we can minimize suffering as human beings if we can reach that state? If you think...
Again, I just don't see any point in saying something, we can't minimize suffering. Minimize means reduce. All right, minimize doesn't mean eliminate all suffering. It means reduce suffering. Reduce it to its minimum, the minimum necessary for you to have your silly perception that the sushi tastes good or whatever the bullshit is, your beauty crap. So yeah, you minimize it to that point. You get rid of the completely unnecessary and wasteful suffering. So you get rid of the wars, and you get rid of the cancers, and you get rid of the slow, long, horrible deaths, and you get rid of all the other little blights of horror you know, the broken backs and the broken organs and all the other miseries that go with that shit. Yeah, that'd be a good thing.
We can reach that stage, like by making YouTube videos and I don't know, doing anything you can, getting the word out. If you think that stage is reachable and attainable, you think that there's that hope, then all right. But I don't have faith.
Well, I don't see, it doesn't even have anything to do with that. It just has to do with the damn truth in the first place, right? Isn't that the whole point of the conversation, is to find the truth? So if I'm anti-natalist because I believe it's the truth, people should not procreate because they should not create needs that do not need to exist. There's a statement. Okay, it seems perfectly logical and reasonable to me. All right, the fact of the matter, whether or not the human race is going to abide by it or there's any hope the human race will do it, seems completely irrelevant to the fact that it's a fucking description of reality. It's a fucking fact. Life is futilely stupid. It's all built out of negatives, and you have this delusion that you're accomplishing something because you clean up some portion of the negatives created by your own stupid fucking addicted existence. So yeah, but it's a fact. I don't care, you know, I care, but I mean, the point is, it's not about what the human race does with that fact. The argument is, that's the fact. Now disprove it. Disprove the fact. Okay? Don't tell me what's possible and what's impossible. Just explain to me why that's not the fucking truth.
In that, I don't have hope. I don't trust people to sit the right way on the toilet seat, let alone do something that opposes their biological gratification for the sake of logic. I mean, that's a fantasy thing. That's a pipe dream to me. Like, and that's same with your anti-natalism debate. Like, I think that's a good. All right, yeah, it's a good idea.
It won't turn off. Yeah, well, whatever. Right. So yeah, the human races fail. There's no point in describing that circumstance. You want to take it to some step, or you want to turn it into some sort of movement or something, or you're expecting me to, or expecting the world to. Well, who the fuck knows what can come of it? But first, there has to be an argument about it as the truth, and then you worry about how the fuck, if you have any hope of getting it implemented, or whether that meme or idea has any hope of spreading into the mind of the human organism. But I'm just saying that the people who say it's futile, I would just, to even talk about it, I would say to them it's futile to even talk about your little Hopi improvement crap too. Because none of that shit has much of a presence on the horizon. It doesn't look very practical that you're going to create human beings that aren't going to cheat each other and fucking trip each other and fuck with each other to get on top of little Mount bullshit.
But, I don't know, the Utopia project might be a good idea. But to me, it's just so far gone. It's so far out there. It's so unattainable as far as I can see. Then it's not a card that can be played on the table. And another card...
Well, whatever. Says you. I mean, compared to what other cards? All right? I mean, I can make the argument that the human race is going to fail. All right? Again, it's going to fail. The only thing that we're trying to do is make it fail better than it's going to inevitably. It's inevitably going to be wiped out. I say it's going to wipe itself out because it's going to have another nuclear war. It's going to fuck this place up. Okay? There's just no doubt about it. 7 billion people thinking they all have a right. And it's just not going to work out. We're going to run out of resources. There's going to be fucking bloodshed. And boom, boom, gloom, doom, kaboom. I mean, it's over. So all we're doing is talking about, well, is it realistic that we can fucking find some way to fall down this cliff a little better than that? And I think that's realistic.
That can't be played on the table, I don't think, is the whole, we should just wipe everyone out. That's not going to happen. That's not the way life is going to work. And like,
well, dream on, fella. Okay, it's going to work that way. This planet's going. All right, and before this planet goes, we're going to go. Okay, the little human time bomb is going to go off. We've had nuclear bombs for less than 100 years. Get real. You think we have a 1,000-year future with them? No fucking way. This is just a pipe dream that you're going to do this human experiment successfully. It's going to fail big and bad.
Make
Sorry, I'm rendering a video and
keep polluting and stuff. It'll happen anyway. People are saying people are scum because they're destroying the world. The way to get rid of that's just to pollute more and to make the earth a toxic place for humans, and so they can't pollute anymore. The earth will heal itself, and your ideal will be met, won't it?
No, that's just shallow thinking. How exactly is my ideal met if a bunch of sentient organisms are on a planet ripping each other's skin off for absolutely no good reason to satisfy the agenda of a reproducing molecule 4 billion years ago? That doesn't sound like my agenda. Alright, that sounds like my nightmare. I don't want nature to survive the human race. Nature on Earth. Okay, yeah, no, that would be failure. A mega failure. And that's the mega failure we probably are heading for. We will knock ourselves back into Stone Age tribes of fucktarded idiots, with their AK-47s fighting over, 4-year-old ears of corn. And, yeah, nature will go on. The horror will continue.
That's I don't know. That's the trouble I'm having, and I'm sorry if you lose your temper over all this. I'm not trying to inflame you. I'm not trying to attack you personally. If I make personal assumptions,
yeah, well, whatever. The whole point is there's all this talk, like somehow talking about what the truth of our circumstances requires an agenda to be tied to it, and that's really not the subject. The subject isn't the agenda. Speaking of agendas, there's this inspired ham. She had to make a video about the fact that I blocked her. She's basically she should be on Facebook, okay? She's playing some kind of game here. If you go look at her comments, she kisses everybody's ass. She doesn't have opinions on anything. Everything's just this wishy-washy bullshit, and then she's posting videos that say rate, subscribe, and whatever at the bottom. What the fuck? Yeah, why don't you insult everyone's intelligence? Really, you're going to talk about the meaning of life and you have to tell people to subscribe to your channel? Do you think that makes any sense? I don't think it makes any sense. No, that's for retards. Thank you very much. So anyway, these people. So this is just game players here. This is just waste of valuable time, distractions. They're just little kids playing in the mud. I'm going to pretend to be a philosopher. Splashy, splashy, splashy. I don't know what to talk on. I have an open mind. Yeah, well then maybe you can keep your mouth shut until you fill your mind with something. Oh, these people. Anyway, it's probably enough of a video. Let's see if he says anything else. Yeah.
Apologize and
no need.
I know these kind of disclaimers are annoying, but it's the internet. It's hard for people to understand. It's really easy for people to misconstrue things, and I just want to make sure that that I'm not trying to be malicious.
Yeah, I understand, but look, if you're going to ask questions too, I guess you ought to keep the questions, you asked like a 74-part qualified question. Well, do you believe even though this and this and this and this, and I don't think that can happen, I don't think this, and even if that did happen, what about, what's the point of that? All right, I'll ask you a question. Do you believe life is made out of consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction? Do you believe there's some other ingredient? Do you believe that life is satisfying a need it doesn't create by existing? Is it satisfying some need beyond a need created by its own existence? Yeah, so answer those two questions for me. Thank you very much. And tell me, what's the difference? It's the truth, right? So all I've done is articulate a truth theory. Okay, so somebody argue with the truth theory. Don't tell me, no, you can't change people. You can't make that happen. I don't care. Alright, still the truth, fuckers. Alright, anyway, until next time. Thank you very much, and whatnot. 20 minutes. Well, it's not terrible.